I don't think in today's day and age, a recruiter is go through a resume of a data analyst and read use Python to create so and so.
Correct.
We know that.
Yeah.
But when you did that, what happened? What happened is what I want to know. A lot of times people may be very good at their job technically. Someone may be a great coder, someone may be a great product manager. But if you cannot articulate or talk about it or frame it well in your resume or tell people what you did, none of it matters.
So these are the two things that come to me, that it has to look beautiful.
Yeah.
It has to be one page.
Your resume doesn't have to be beautiful or look good and pleasing to the eyes. While it needs to be professional, properly aligned, it needs to have a structure. All of those fancy templates which most of your online resume makers or CV makers present to you, which is what 90% of the audience makes, is something that gets you rejected at the go-ahead.
Dhairya, welcome to the conversation. Really excited to have you over here. Certainly, where you are a person who has been in both the shoes, very close to the the job seeking journey, not in terms of just hiring for yourself, but also when you're conversing with people who are actively in their job seeking journey. Plus, I'm sure you're hiring for yourself as well, so you know how the other part of the entire ecosystem works as well.
True.
And this in this entire conversation that we are going to have, I think we'll mostly cover how the process works, how the resumes are being perceived, not only just in the place of how a recruiter or a hiring manager is reading it, but also the first steps of everything.
True.
And a couple of things around how the resume should look, should sound, and should tell stories about. We'll also try and cover a couple of myths that that I feel are really something that the world needs to know. So really excited about the entire conversation.
Likewise. No, thanks, Yash, for having me over. And I think more than just the fact that we're obviously going to be talking about how resumes impact job seekers' job search process, I think it's going to be really helpful for folks to know what are some common mistakes that you end up doing and you overlook. No matter whether you're using AI tools, not using AI tools, because these are just common errors that we tend to make. So I hope that we are able to debunk some myths in this episode. Yeah.
That being said, we'll move forward to one thing that is the most important, to introduce yourself. And I think I think the audience, all the folks who are listening to this, or all the folks who are gonna watch this, would really love to know you as well. So
Sure.
can you quickly talk about yourself? It's easy.
Would love to. I'll keep it short. So obviously by now everyone would be knowing my name for the folks who've tuned into the conversation. I'm an educator, a career coach, and a podcaster. I've been doing this full time for more than 3.5 years now, and 5.5 years in the industry. I help job seekers, both freshers and working professionals, with all aspects of their career growth, right from building effective resumes to optimizing their LinkedIn profiles to cracking hyping interviews, switching roles, etc. And content creation happens side by side with this, and hence the content is also educational. And I create across LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. I host a career podcast as well, which decodes different career paths in every episode, so that students and working professionals can know what are the different avenues and career options open to them to take up. Yeah, so that's a little bit about my journey, and I'm really excited for our conversation.
Thanks a lot. And that's a lot of different things, different hats that you're wearing, and that's one of the things that makes you. So kudos to that, there, whatever you have been doing to empower the community for through your content. It's such a great thing. And now that we move to the first segment, I just wanted to go on to a very, very brutal understanding of what is the application process. Like, let's just consider a scenario where I'm starting to apply. I'm starting to think that, hey, I want to switch jobs. What is the first thing that I do? That's definitely one of the most important part. So if you can just put more light on how the application process is, what an application process is.
Sure. So to answer the first part of your question, I think first and foremost, if someone is looking to switch jobs, Generally, the first thing that'll come to your mind will be, okay, I need to make a resume and apply. But I think there's a requisite to that. Even before you sit down and make a resume, you have to do a skill gap analysis, because when you are switching fields, let's say someone's moving from data analytics to HR, or let's say from product management to software engineering, whatever it may be, you have to do an analysis of the skill set you currently possess and have as internal, capabilities, or what you've built, versus what's needed basis job descriptions and market demand and what recruiters are looking for. And how are you going to fill that gap? Is it going to be via learning tools? Is it going to be via certifications or distance learning program? Building a portfolio, creating projects, taking up an internship, or whatever, right? How are you going to fill that gap? Because there has to be something quantifiable to fill that gap first. Once you fill that gap is when you will be able to tailor your resume for a job switch. And then you'll apply, and you know the drill. But that's first, right? Coming to a generic, typical application process, if I was to talk about it in 2026, it goes without saying that 99% of your Fortune 500 companies use an applicant tracking system, and which means all of your dream companies use it. And it's just a 6-second scan, which any piece of resume goes through. Even if I was to upload my resume on any career portal, job search website, or LinkedIn, as a matter of fact, it's all linked at the back end to an ATS. There are different ATS companies that provide their bundles and user licenses to all of these MNCs, right?
Correct.
Um, just to name a few leading ones, you have Workday and Talio. These are two of the most widely used global ATS systems. And what essentially happens at the back end after that 6-second scan is that your resume either gets selected or rejected. Once that happens is when it goes to stage two, which is now it needs the human eye, and a human recruiter will skim through the resume, scan it, maybe spend about a minute or a max 2 minutes, right? But typically that's the drill. And obviously, after that, you have your interview rounds that follow, right? From your technical interview rounds to a cultural fitment round to your HR interviews or behavioral interviews to partner rounds, etc. That's very varying and dependent and subjective to a company, because the number of interview rounds and the type of interviews you'll go through is totally dependent on the role and also the interview process, which is personal to each company. But yeah, typically that's what an application process will look like. You may also have a certain intervention after the resume scan, which may be an aptitude or a cognitive ability test in few cases
Okay.
before the interview rounds. So that happens in a few roles.
Awesome. Just going to the first bit of this everything, there, I think you mentioned a couple of ATS. While we were building this tool, we also came across a couple of ATS which was so widely used. We were surprised, right? So it's not, as you said, Fortune 500, hands down, everyone's using that. Nowadays,
Yeah.
the entire module or the entire pricing structure of this ATS has become so disposable that a startup is also able to afford an ATS, because and when we go and ask that how are you able to do this, right? Because it's something that generally an Fortune 500 would be using. That was the notion. But everyone is now using an ATS to make sure that the entire application funnel that is coming to them, they are spending time on the right person. They're spending time
Yeah.
on people who are actually qualified for that job. And that's the bare minimum expectation from them, that, hey, if I'm using an ATS, the
Yeah.
application funnel and eventually the resumes that I'm going to scan, or that I'm going to read, or that I'm going to examine, are going to be relevant enough. And hence
Relevant.
with
Yeah.
AI and with, ATS is also combining a lot of AI, putting a lot of AI layers onto their screening processes. Their
Right.
overall screening of the resumes, the prerequisites to screen, has become so accurate day by day that everyone has started relying on more and more of it. So
True.
that ATS part has become so important, not just for those companies, but also for the entire
For
ecosystem.
everyone now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
entire
In fact,
ecosystem, which is
I've
thriving.
also heard that, yeah, just to add on, I've heard that a lot of tech first startups or companies who have a very strong technical capability team in place, they also build their own in-house ATSs, by the way. And that's also the reason why when job seekers, when I have sessions or I go to colleges, when students ask me, how do you make your resume ATS compliant? The answer is you cannot make it 100% ATS compliant. Also,
Correct.
because you don't know what are the parameters that the other person at the backend has set.
Hmm.
Because apart from these standard ATS companies, now people are building in-house ATS
Mhm.
software. So it's their custom parameters put in. You don't really know.
Yeah.
So it's not a one size fit all thing.
There's certain aspects in an ATS, which is ATS parsing, one is
Mhm.
ATS filtering, and the other one is ATS keyword matching. Can we talk
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little about it? All of this, right? So what is ATS
yeah.
filtering? What is ATS parsing? And what is ATS keyword matching?
Sure. I think that's a very relevant and a very important question, and I see a lot of people not talking about it. So to begin with, filtering, right? Filtering is just like a basic, just like the name suggests, it's a filter. It's a yes or a no. It's a this or a that, which means
Right.
if you upload your resume and the company has a bare minimum filter that this person needs to have 1 year of
Certain years of
experience,
experience.
certain years, 2 years of experience, and you have put in, let's say, 12 months and they need at least 2 years. So you're automatically rejected, right? It's a yes or a no.
Yeah.
You don't have 2 years of experience,
Yeah.
your resume gets rejected. Let's say it's specified that this is a role based out of Mumbai, your
Correct.
location says
Location
Bangalore,
specific. It's
so it's
it's
gone. That's a filter,
and
right? That's
that's
filtering.
straightforward, right? Like if it's
Straightforward.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's not even nearby. It's just if it's
Yeah, yeah.
Mumbai and you have Mumbai, that's it. That's all it's gonna match.
Correct, correct. There are no
So
emotions. It works on basic this or that. It's either
yeah,
this or that. If this matches, it's a pass. If this doesn't, then you just reject the resume. So it's filtering, right?
correct,
Whether it's on years of experience, location, if it's a remote or a hybrid role,
correct.
whatever, all of that. Now, coming to parsing, parsing is actually a process on which it's the basic principle on which the ATS works, which means if this was a resume and if you were to imagine it's a resume vertically, your parsing happens this way from left to right across the page, letter by letter across the page. This is
Correct.
what parsing is. When parsing happens, it goes through each letter, right? It happens. So there are data fields at the back end, and parsing is going through each data field
Yeah.
basically and mapping if things are matching or not, right? And that's why one thing I'd like to tell, since we're talking about parsing, a lot of people also feel that you should make your resume very aesthetic and it should have, let's say, lines and divisions and tables and columns. Why it shouldn't be that way is because of the parsing feature. When parsing happens letter by letter, there's an interruption in the flow or intervention through the scanning
Yeah.
when it wants to take out the words. And hence, you should have a more free flowing basic professional resume with minimum number of sections and no tabular formats or columns and structures. So that's also the reasoning to it. And
Yeah.
the last one, which is your searching, you said,
Yeah.
right?
ATS
ADS
keyword matching.
scan, keyword scan. That's your basic mapping, right? So, for example, if a job, let's take the job description of a data analyst, and it says in the skills needed, it's mentioned there's Python, there's Tableau, advanced level Excel. And let's say it's also mentioned you need to know basic data visualization. You should be knowing macros or VBA in Excel, right? Now, those are keywords. Now, it'll go through your entire resume through the parsing feature. So parsing is the process and it will scan those keywords and take them out, right?
Correct.
Word by word matching. That is your keyword filtration, right? Because if certain measure, every job role has at least 5 to 10 top skills which they will look for,
Hmm.
whether it's soft skills, technical skills, or techno functional skills, right? Again, it's category wise. And if at least the top 3 or 4 are missing and not there, then again, it's very difficult for your resume to get shortlisted. Like for a data analyst role, I think if you don't know basic Python, SQL, and Excel also, chalo coding nahi bhi aati hai, that's fine. It's very difficult that you will get shortlisted if these 3 words are missing in your resume, right? So
Yeah.
it's basically job description versus your resume and keyword matching. Yeah.
Hmm. That's this one information was something that I think a lot of people needed to know. Moving on to something that I obviously felt is that if we can talk about a couple of myths.
I mean, after spending about 5.5 years and talking to thousands of people about this, I think I can say, I'm not saying that it is a 100% always this way, but the
Mm-hmm.
fact of the matter is your resume doesn't have to be beautiful or look good and pleasing to the eyes, because that's not what matters. While it needs to be professional, properly aligned, it needs to have a structure, and obviously it needs to look professional. It doesn't have to look beautiful, which means all of those fancy templates which most of your online resume makers or CV makers present to you, which is what 90% of the audience makes, is something that gets you rejected at the go ahead, right? Just right there.
Yeah,
Because
the gatekeeper itself
like I
rejects
said,
you.
the gatekeeper rejects it because your picture images, using pie charts or data visualization methods to show
Timelines.
your skill capability, or timelines and dots and emojis or tables, none of it is going to work, right? I don't consider it to be a resume. If it's beyond 3 pages, it becomes a CV automatically. Then
Yeah.
it's not a resume.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of people think a resume and a CV are the same. They're
Same thing.
not. They're different, right? CVs are more extensive. CVs focus more on extracurricular activities, on education, research papers, and not on the skills and the experience and your job part. Because CVs are sent out for research based roles, PhD scholars, teachers. When you're applying to universities abroad, you submit a CV. Resumes are submitted to companies and MNCs as a job seeker in any industry. That's another thing you need to know. That's a very big myth. People still don't know these things, right? You can't just randomly say, send me your CV, right? And you have recruiters at top MNCs telling candidates to send your CV across. No, it's a resume, not a CV that you are asking them for. So, yeah, those are a few things.
Moving on to the one of the very very visual and exciting segment of the entire conversation. There I'm
Sure.
going to show you a side-by-side comparison of two resumes. You wouldn't know
Okay.
which resume is a before after. It's just a
Yeah.
side-by-side comparison of two resumes. The same guy, which who transformed the resume, their resume
Hmm.
before and their resume after. You wouldn't know that. It's an
Okay.
anonymous,
Okay.
decision that you'll make because there's an A and B.
Right.
Just let me know every time you see a resume, which resume you would like and the rationale behind it. That whatever the reason
Behind it. Yeah.
you selected this one and rejected that one. I think that rejection would be something that would matter a
Sure.
lot so that everyone gets to know that.
Yeah.
This is the resume, version A and version B. Which one would you
Hmm.
choose? And just for the folks to understand why it would be great.
Undoubtedly, I'd go with the one on the left, which is version A.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just to give you a quick run through of why I'm rejecting version B. If we look at version B, first and foremost, to begin with, the entire professional summary that's mentioned on the top, right? I feel that the way it has been written, firstly, is a little more generic
Mm-hmm.
and not ideally at the right placeholder. Like I said,
Correct.
I wouldn't want it to be right at the top, right? Information like the role you want to apply to, like I'd earlier mentioned, your phone number, your LinkedIn profile link, GitHub link, address, all of those are important pieces of information that you should ideally put under the name, with the job title you're seeking, other than the professional summary that should come in later, right?
Yeah.
Also, if you look at the version on the right, there's a small summary under the name. There's also a profile summary section, which is so
Yes.
long, lengthy, and repetitive. It's just not needed. I mean,
Correct.
um, and it has so many jargons, right? Success in leading, implementation, this, that, efforts. See, I think what people want to know in a profile summary, even if you were to write it, worst case, आपको लिखना ही है, it
Hmm.
cannot go beyond 3 lines. And those 3 lines should essentially encompassate these three things. What role are you currently working in, from how many years, or what college are you studying in, what degree, for how many years, followed by the core skills or competencies you have, top three, and
Yeah.
how you build those core competencies and why you want to enter this industry in 1 line. ये 3 लाइन में एक प्रोफेशनल समरी होनी चाहिए, nothing beyond that. All of
Correct.
the other jazz, da da da, and storytelling you're doing is something that needs to be extrapolated on in your experience section when you're talking about each job role, each internship, or what you did
Mm-hmm.
professionally. So
Hmm.
that's extra. Also, if you look at the format, it's a column section resume, the one on the right, the version
Yeah.
B, which is left, right, and like I had said, these divisions, lines, columns, barriers interrupt in the parsing activity of the ATS. It also has emojis, right? It has emoticons.
Yeah.
The certification has got like that trophy work
Yeah,
experience
the
as well.
icons, correct.
Icons. These small icons you may feel are not problematic, but they are problematic for the ATS, right? Um, and I also feel that the one on the left is more structured, more
Hmm.
professionally and visually clean to look at. Clean is the word, right? There
Yeah.
has to be a clean aesthetic versus a cluttered aesthetic. The one on the right is cluttered. There's
Correct.
an information overload. If I look at the skills also, the way the skills have been placed in the one on the right, it's dot 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 and it's very overwhelming. It seems like the person just knows everything, right? Or they're
Correct.
just showing off too much. But here on the left, we have divisions, right? You have tools, you have platforms, you have others. Um, right? So that division and segregation and the way it's presented is very important,
I
right?
think this also covers what you said, right? That it's not just technical. You
Yeah,
just don't need to give me, I mean, give the recruiter the technical part, but also the functional part, which in this
yeah,
case also has stakeholder management, client relationship
100%.
management, people management. So
People management, data
you know
migration,
that
that's
this
very
guy can
important. Yeah,
eventually go down to a leadership role as well, of managing a team
right,
or a management role as well. Yeah, correct. And I think one of the important part that you said, it
right,
is so
right.
generic over here, which says India, versus here. I mean, here it says Hyderabad. So one thing that
It
is
says the
strange.
location is specified. It's
Yeah,
Hyderabad. Yeah, obviously.
yeah, correct. Yeah. Just
So that's very important because when we spoke about the filtering part, and if you have mentioned India, how will the filtering happen then? If it's a, and generally most job roles are location specific.
yeah,
So
correct.
also I feel there are few unnecessary sections in the version on the right,
Hmm.
like workshops is a section as such that was not needed, is what I
Hmm.
feel. Although
Okay.
it's replicated here, but it's written in a better format. You can combine, like, course modules again is a section that was not needed unless you're applying for a pure core technical job. So
Correct.
if, let's say, you want to apply for a VLSI specific role or a
Hmm.
system on chip engineer role somewhere, तो ओके तो आपने कोर्स मॉड्यूल्स जो अपने इंजीनियरिंग में पढ़े इन ईसी यू हैव टू पुट दैट आई अंडरस्टैंड but in any other role, you don't need to specify the course modules or subjects you studied. It's not needed. And
Understood.
academic projects in your workshops could have been combined into one section. You could have just
Yeah,
called it projects and then listed them down. So, yeah, few things here and there, but hands down, the one on the left is what I would choose.
understood. Awesome. All right, so I'll select this version and move ahead. How
Yeah.
about this?
It's a um, terror horror resume, is what we call it. It's a nightmare for a recruiter to look at this.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you why. Number one, like I said, I'll also tell you why, apart from the parsing and the format rejection bit, why a candidate should never put their picture on a resume is also because it creates a bias a lot of
Hmm.
times. It's been found out in a lot of companies that recruiters, just to maintain their policy of, not having any bias towards a particular gender, or basing their selection based on somebody's looks, etc. It's always better to have just content and matter and text to do the talking rather than having your picture. And it's not needed, honestly. So that's another reason you shouldn't have an image. And visually, like I said, again, if you look at this resume, it got like a timeline
Hmm.
format and it's
Yeah.
column sectioned again, colors.
Hmm.
Um, an about me section again, which is not needed at all. It just a professional summary of 3 lines would have been enough, right?
Yeah.
Um, I see the education section on top again instead of professional experience and skills.
Yeah.
I would rather prefer seeing skills or experience where education is in the
Correct.
version B, right?
Understood.
Just like if you see on version A, you have technical skills after professional summary and then your professional experience.
Yes.
That's how the order should have been,
Yeah.
right? Um, Also, again, when it comes to just the format, it is so divided because you have a complete left section and then a
Hmm.
right section in columns, that when the parsing will happen, there'll be too many gaps and too many interruptions. So
Yeah.
it's not going to get a high score for sure, the one on the right, right?
Understood. Yes.
um yeah.
I think
Also,
it's obvious to the part which one do you like here, but yes, thanks a lot for this
yes, yeah,
breakdown. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
And I also feel that the dates mentioned are very important. That's something that a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
Your start date, start month, end date,
Yeah.
end month for any professional experience project is very important. A lot of people just put in like July
Yes.
2020. That doesn't work. No. From what month, year to
Correct.
ending
The
month and
duration
year,
itself should have been.
duration is extremely
I think
important.
that's
Yeah.
such a good find,
Yeah.
Dhairya. I think none of the
Experiences or projects have
experiences or
it.
the
Yeah.
projects have it, though he has mentioned it here in the timeline. But
Yeah.
imagine you as a human or a recruiter every time thinking that, hey, when was this? Again,
When
go
did he
back.
do this? And
Yes,
yeah, when
go
did he
back
finish the
up to
project?
see that, and I think that itself is
Exactly.
gonna yeah, butcher the entire user experience
Right.
for the recruiter. Okay, thanks a lot, Dhairya, for that live demo of which ones are the right resume and which ones are the not, and what's wrong with any of those resumes. Really
Yeah.
glad for that. Moving on to the last segment over here, which is the basic. What are the most prerequisites, non-negotiable sections that any resume should have, whether it's a and I'm sure uh, it's going to be different from people from different industries, also from different
Yeah.
experiences of years of experience that they've held in their career. But yes, what's your thought on the most non-negotiable sections of the resume?
Sure. I think obviously it's to the discretion of people what they want to keep and not, but I feel certain sections are needed no matter how experienced you get, no matter which field you're working in. The first one undoubtedly being your professional experience or your work experience section. Since you are submitting a resume to a company applying for a particular job against a job description, it's very important that you talk about your previous roles, what you've done there, the impact you've created. So, professional experience is a no brainer.
Mm-hmm.
Skills are extremely important because that's also a section to show your skills beyond your technical capabilities. Like as we spoke of, the importance of soft skills, human skills. What kind of a leader are you? It's not just about writing leadership as a skill. It's also about showing it via different ways. So I think
Correct.
skills is a very important section that is a non-negotiable on someone's resume.
Mm-hmm.
Your personal information is very, very important, which is your name, address, your LinkedIn profile link, GitHub link, or any external portfolio or website link that you have, and everything else that you put there. Because, see, when I sit in the position of a recruiter and I want to, let's say, narrow down to one candidate for a position, and let's say I have three people,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else is very similar amongst three folks, at least on the resume level before I interview them, I would like to know more about the
True.
person to be able to make a choice, right? And then your GitHub repository, your portfolio link, your website link, or your LinkedIn profile, provided it's updated, optimized, and well made, will help me make a choice
Yeah.
amongst those three people. So
Yeah.
I think it's very important to provide those external links. But also keep in mind that you shouldn't be filling your resume with a lot of links as well. That's just a pro tip because I think beyond two hyperlinks also brings down your ATS score because it's detected as spam beyond a point. So
Okay.
you shouldn't be filling your entire resume with a lot of links. At
Mm-hmm.
max, two is fine. And I think the one last section again that is a non-negotiable is also your education for the filter purpose because
Correct.
when you put your education years is when I'll know when did you pass out from your 10th and 12th grade, which are basic qualification, and your BTech or your postgrad, undergrad you would have done because, like I said, there are filters for a lot of roles. A lot of roles
Mm.
require you to
Mm.
be an MBA candidate. A lot of roles
Mm.
require you to have a minimum 70% qualification in 12th, whatever.
Mm.
So
Mm.
if that's not mentioned on your resume, then that filter will reject your resume.
Mm.
So those are some extremely important sections, which are non-negotiables. Others are always extras and on the way how you put it. Then to
Correct.
add karne ko, you can add one separate certifications,
Mm.
separate achievements, separate extracurricular activities. You can just keep adding on stuff, right? There's no end to it.
So to sum it up, it would be your personal details section, your name, your title or the job or your current job title or the job title that you're applying for,
For yeah,
emails, emails, phone number, location, LinkedIn, GitHub.
links, yeah, yeah,
Then comes to summary, followed down by skills, then professional experience, education. That's the bare minimum that needs to be
That's the
be
bare
there.
minimum, yeah.
Then obviously depending on different types of
Industries,
different
company
kind
you're
of
applying to,
candidature
role.
you have,
Yeah.
whether it is industry experience. As you said, rightly said, for one of them was that there should be publications, thesis that they have
Yeah.
made,
Yeah.
certifications. So yes,
Certifications, yeah.
case to case basis, but these are the bare minimum that definitely needs to be there. And then
Yeah.
anything that adds up to their candidature or the overall credibility of their experience, definitely that beyond this would be
That's
needed.
just a add-on, yeah.
Yeah, but this is bare minimum. Correct.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think with that being said, we can wrap up this conversation. Had a great time. We've taken more than what we
Likewise.
thought we'll be
No,
covering.
as long as it helps people, I think it's great. I
Yeah,
mean, if folks are able to utilize it in their job search journey, and then these tips and the resume review that we did, I think that was at least a lot of fun for me also to go through and to help people know what is important. I think such activities and insights will help people make the right calls and decisions when they are applying for jobs in the future.
absolutely.
So I'm glad that we did this, and I hope that people can take away, um, key pointers from the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what you rightly said is that A, they'll know how it's working. Plus, they'll also have some idea on what things cannot work with their resume, right? So because
Yeah.
none of these ATSs, none of these recruiters come down and say that this was wrong and hence we
Wrong. Yeah.
rejected. None of the ATS companies like Greenhouse, Workday, Keka, Smart Recruiter, none of these are going to come and tell you that what are the criteria or prerequisites that any ATS is following. So this will
Following. Yeah.
also help folks and people in the community to understand that what are the possible reasons that they can be rejected if any of these elements are present. So
Present.
yes, I
Yeah.
think a great chat with you, a lot of insights for everyone, and I'm sure we'll have more conversations like this where we can drill down more upon a couple of other
For sure.
aspects as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's it. Anything else,
Yeah.
there that you would like to communicate with the audience, with all the people who are going to watch this?
No, I mean, I'd just like to sum it up by saying that there's always been this chatter, I think, even about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, or even now with AI coming in, that resumes will become irrelevant, they're not important, they're not needed to get hired, or LinkedIn is the new resume. And being a LinkedIn creator myself and being a huge fan of the platform or whatever they do, still the truth is, I don't think a resume or the piece of paper that it is will ever lose its significance. Its shape and form and the way it's communicated may change and it may translate over the years. But I don't think it'll ever become irrelevant no matter what AI tool or transformation comes in. And hence, I want to reinforce that it's extremely important that you get it right. And one thing that we missed in this conversation, I'll add up to it, is whenever you apply to a job or a job role, your resume always has to be tweaked and changed as per the job description, the job role, and the kind of company you're applying to. It's never going to be a one size fit all. If you're applying to a Google for a software development position versus an Amazon for a software development position, even though the position is the same, because it's two different companies working on different tech stacks and different requirements and projects, you will see a difference in the JD. Some difference will be there. So, and hence there has to be some difference in your resume as well. So, just work on customizing and optimizing your resume as per the job description and the company requirements. And yeah, and I think I'd really like to appreciate the tool that you guys have built at Uplers, because honestly, I think when it comes to helping candidates with um, going through a resume transformation, it's a struggle for a lot of people. You want to obviously upgrade and upskill yourself and then have a transformed resume to match your dream job. And that's something everyone's looking for. And obviously, even when we went through the demos, there was a stark difference. Now, I don't know what was made where, right? And it was anonymous, but you can clearly see what a recruiter would prefer or go for. So I think it's great that you've built this tool. And further, obviously, if folks need help on interview preparation, anything related to resumes, LinkedIn, all things career, happy to help, you can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. And I think, yeah, that was a fun chat. And thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in till the very end. Yeah.
Thanks a lot there. And just just for your information, a heads up, all the 100% of the resumes that you selected, all were the transformed resumes. So
Yeah.
the resumes that you
I thought
liked,
so.
the resumes that you liked and you selected, all of them were the ones that were transformed with us. So yeah, I think that itself, says a lot on how much credible that one piece of paper is. Just by seeing, you were clearly able to differentiate things, give a quite rational verdict about it. So really happy for the entire conversation. Thanks a lot. Uh, and I hope the
My
audience
pleasure.
gets the
Yeah.
best out of this. And everyone who's looking at this, they get the best out of it. And we can be a part
Sure.
of the job seeking journey and make sure that they get that dream role, get that dream job. And yes, all the best to everyone. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks a
you. Thank
lot.
you so
Thanks a
much.
lot, there. All right. See you.